Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be teaching about fatherlessness. Fatherlessness is if someone doesn't have a dad. If you guys are lucky, your parents, you kids are lucky because we're going to be teaching about fatherlessness. And I'm
What an intro.
What an intro, right?
What an intro.
What an intro.
I applaud.
Absolutely. So, welcome everyone. This is #Fatherlessness. It's a podcast for healing. My name is David, or Casper, as some people know, and this is my brother Huel right beside me. Fatherlessness is a podcast we're building not only to help young kids, boys, girls, but also to help reconnect the fathers.
Absolutely.
Because that's the most important part, as I would say, bringing the source back to the family. So let me tell a little backstory about me as we're getting started as our first episode of Fatherlessness. Once again, my name is David. I grew up, all my friends called me Casper growing up, and it stuck with me ever since and to this day. As a young kid, I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, and out of all my friends, I was the only friend that had a father. But unfortunately, having just the father, you would think I would have a better foundation, and unfortunately, I didn't. I ended up running the streets, from Edison to Dunbar. I did good grades, but once I went to Hardin, fell off, man. I started hanging out more, and I grew up poor, so we didn't have, everybody else had the British Knights. Remember them? Or the Reebok pumps? Remember the Reebok pumps, or even the Jordans back in the day? So
see, my back in the day was having some Converse All Stars.
Oh, come on, some Chuck Taylors. There you go.
Pro Cads was just all. We got different back in the day.
Wow. Shoot. So as you can see, we're two different eras. So. Yep. And I hope Brother Huel shares that part because, but when growing up, I grew up poor, so I wanted other sneakers. I wanted the Reebok pumps. I wanted the Jordans. I wanted the British Knights. My mom used to take us to Payless all the time to buy our sneakers. Or we go to Bradley's. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Bradley's. Bradley's from back in the day.
I got my sneakers from Kmart.
Okay, and I got tired of it. Tired of wearing Jeeper sneakers, They used to always say that song, Jeepers, Creepers, you always wearing them sneakers, But, yeah, so I just got tired of it, and I eventually asked one of my friends, I said, listen, man, how could I earn some money to buy some Jordans? And I thought he was my friend. Because, we hung out all the time, hanging out. I mean, we drank beer together. We smoked weed together, which I never really enjoyed. Please, I'm not encouraging that. I'm just stating what I went through growing up. And he gave me first bundle to sell. That's what happened. I started doing that, and I didn't realize, but I was good at it. The reason why I was good at it is because I was white. In a predominantly black neighborhood, right? So the minute the cops come, I would just walk away and they wouldn't even think twice of checking me because I was the only white kid there. They probably thought I was going there to buy, but got scared or spooked by them, So,
which is interesting. The person that's buying isn't the person that they care about.
Exactly. It's not. No, it's not a person of interest.
That's the person that's buying.
Yeah, go buy somewhere else, apparently. Yeah. So that's what happened. I ended up doing that, and I ended up buying sneakers, and I just, I guess looking back, I became a product of fatherlessness. I had a father, and like I said, I had a father growing up. It's just unfortunate that he didn't have a father. At the age of 8, his father left him. At the age of 10, his father came back, but to take his sister, and left my father alone. So can you imagine at 10 years old, what's going through your mind? Abandonment, like you said earlier, I mean, my father, and I praise God for the way my father grew up because he made a fact. He said, listen, I am not going to allow my kids to be raised the way I was. And he kept his word. And the only bad thing is he just didn't have a foundation because he was raised without a father. So,
question: did he know that you were kind of doing these things? Was he just kind of oblivious, or like? I'm curious as to what he would say or what he would tell you in those moments.
Well, I remember. Well, he was an over-the-road truck driver. Okay, he worked for Conway. He used to go to Albany, New York.
He wasn't off in the home.
Right. So he was. Well, I mean, he was home during the day, but he would sleep. So what happened was, my mom told him because she found out I had a pair of Jordans in my closet. She asked me where I got them from. I told one of my friends gave them to me. And she believed it. She was okay, cool, whatever. Until she found the second pair of Jordans. And then the third pair.
Friend. Generous friend.
So, and, my father, like I said, he drove over the road, so he wasn't home. He didn't know what was going on half the time. Because in his mind, a father is just someone who takes care of the bills. Okay? Because he didn't have that. Because him growing up, he had to sleep at his friend's house. He had to sleep at his cousin's house. He had no solid place to stay. It was always worrying about where I'm going to be tonight. And so it was until my mom told him about me, about the Jordans. And, he pulled me to the side. He goes, listen, a real man works. But at that time, I didn't want to hear that, right? Because I'm doing what I'm doing. And as children, we think we're better. I know more than you, Dad. I know what I'm doing,
And not just children. You were a teenager.
I was a teenager at that time. Right.
We always, as teenagers, know more. Our parents don't understand what we're going through.
Never.
Okay, gotcha.
So one day, my father comes to me, and he tells me, he found me. I'm not going to name where I was, but I was in a project. And he got on his knees in front of me. He told me, he started crying. He said, I'm afraid I'm going to get a call from your mother stating that you're either dead or in jail. And he says, I need you to walk away from this life.
Wow, that's powerful.
It was, but you know what? I still didn't pay no mind to it. Mm-hmm. So, and my father would tell her, my father told my wife, I was afraid he was either going to be dead or in jail. So later on, my father says, listen, your friends are no good. He's like, just please listen. And I started listening to him. Then I started to notice that all my friends were either dying or going to jail. So I had to make a choice. Was it to keep buying these Jordans and doing what I want to do, or am I going to listen to my father? So I listened to him. I stopped. I got a job at Stop and Shop, and I'll tell you what, it's hard. I couldn't buy a pair of Jordans with a paycheck from Stop and Shop. So, that's just a little backstory on me growing up, So I try to always remember that. So this way I can kind of guide my daughters a lot better than what they're doing.
But I think the great thing about even working at Stop and Shop is that when you left work, you weren't worried about looking over your shoulder or the cops coming after me. Is there some other rival, not saying that you're in a gang, but some other rival, dealer that's, concerned about you being on their turf or selling on their turf.
Exactly.
To take you out.
Exactly. Like how it is nowadays.
Like how it is now, yeah.
Nowadays, these kids they're not afraid to shoot. These kids are not afraid. And this is the whole point of fatherlessness, is to help these young children. Because you're right. I mean, all the time I got paid out, you're constantly doing this. And you're worried because back then it wasn't as strenuous as it is now. Taking over blocks. I mean, now, before, you used to be, you got a warning, get out of here. This is my block. Now they don't even do that. They pull out guns. Yeah. They're using what they were never supposed to have. They're using emotions. And this is what kids nowadays are doing, especially fatherless kids, right? So fatherless kids, whether being a boy or a girl, which boys get hurt more because they grow up feminized, they grow up feminized to where they use emotions instead of reacting off of information. Because you and I, as men, I can say, hey, brother, you're an idiot. You're going to be like, huh. Well, but you say that to a girl, she feels it. That's the whole point with the emotions, and what's happening is these kids out in the street now, they're reacting instead of thinking. So, I mean, it was scary.
Right.
It was scary out there. I ain't gonna lie, it was scary. It was no fun.
But you look good in those Jordans, though.
I sure did. I sure did. Well, you know what? And you mentioned gangs and all that, and I did hang with a gang, and everybody thought I was with them. You know, I'm not going to mention which one it was, but I never was part of it. It's just that I hung with them. You know, and that's maybe a reason why a lot of people didn't mess with me either. But yeah.
Interesting. So my background's a little different. You know,
Yep,
I mean,
yep.
I was born in this very small town in Georgia. Even today, population only 1,500. You know, 1,500. And I came from, a two-parent family, similar to you, though, in that sense. The only difference is my parents were young. So my mother got pregnant with me at 15. She didn't want to actually marry my father. My grandmother made her. Because
So she got
back then,
pregnant.
you're pregnant, you're bringing shame to the family.
Of course.
And so she actually married my father. It was the late 60s, and so this was part of that great migration.
Okay.
There was no work in small town Georgia, and so he came to Connecticut. He had some other family members. He had some brothers and aunt that had come up here, so he came to Connecticut. Found a job at Burring Ball Bearings, whatever that is, smoothing them out. And then when I was a year old, he sent for my mother and I. And we did live in Britain for a little bit. We lived in the projects of Hartford, which was really a really eye-opening experience as a child, because it was the first place that it was integrated. I mean, it became a really bad project like later on, but in the early 70s, there were black, there were white, there were interracial couples, there was Latino. Like, it was just a really nice mixture of people, and I really appreciated that as a child, just knowing different races, different ethnicities, and then we moved to the suburbs, right? And so really, realistically, when I was in first grade, through adulthood, I was a suburbs child. So very, very different, I think, from you. And I think the other difference, though, is that my father, he's not who he was in terms of, who he was back then, but just being a young parent, used to beat on my mother. And my brother and I, witnessed a lot of it. And it was, I can still to this day sometimes hear the screams of my mother as he's sitting on top of her, just punching her in the face.
Wow.
And I just remember just kind of screaming because I'm a child, what can I do? And so we spent a lot of time, my mother and my brother, staying in, I think, probably every little motel on the Berlin Turnpike.
Really?
Yeah, because we would leave for the weekends. And, and one thing about my father worked, and very similar to your father, he felt that as a parent, because he grew up with both of his parents, you work hard, you provide for your family. That's what a father does. You make sure there's a roof over their head, you make sure there's food on the table, the lights are on. Like, that's what a father, does. And I appreciate that, because I have that same mentality. Like, I've been working since I was 14, probably even earlier than that. I used to help him out, in terms of different jobs that he would do, because he worked full-time job, worked part-time job, and he provided for his family. But unfortunately, being married so young, very young marriages very rarely ever last.
Of course.
Because they were children and they were still growing and developing to the people that they were going to be. And so they got divorced. And when I was in sixth grade, interestingly enough, though they went through this formal court divorce, a lot of the family members would tell my mom, like, oh, the boys really need their father, the boys shouldn't be deprived of their father. And so my mother listened and let him basically stay in the house, so they still lived together until I was 18. And she was finally like, okay, I can't take it anymore. I think the boys are old enough. So I was 18. My brother was, brother's 5, so he was like 13. Which my brother could have probably still used a little more time with my father, but my mother had reached a point she couldn't take it anymore. And my father, gave me good advice. One of his favorite sayings was always, "If you see a fool, leave a fool." Because I can remember, I remember going to a concert at the Harvard Civic Center, and I don't know, somebody was like LL Cool J, it was like some concert, and this big fight breaks out, and my cousin was with me. She wants to run too because they want to, because back there was no social media then. There
Right,
was no,
of course.
phones with cameras and stuff, and so you would run to go see what was going on. And I remember grabbing her like, "No, we going the other way." Especially if you took out like pepper spray or something. Then
Right.
But I always remember my father saying, "When you see a fool, leave a fool," like because they're going to do something foolish, and you don't want to get caught up in that.
That makes sense.
And then he'd always say, "Nothing good happens after midnight." He and my mother always said that. So it was always like,
And that is
"Get
true.
home before midnight," and
That is
those
true.
words have come true because typically when you hear about these things that are happening, it's always after midnight.
Of course. Of
It's
course.
like the devil's time.
Absolutely.
That's when he gets to, really run amok and just have his way.
Absolutely. Wow. Wow. So how did it make you feel knowing like how your father used to disrespect your mother like that?
Well, it's interesting as I went through a real period of anger, when I was probably in college, and where I was just very
Brother,
angry.
you?
Yeah, I was
Angry, huh? Oh man, okay.
where I just didn't. It's not that not that I didn't love him, but I was just angry with him
Right.
for having to go through this, and I know I'm still feeling the effects of it today. Like I'll be honest, like my wife and I, we've probably never really had like an argument, right? Because
Yes.
I saw what arguing led to, so I'm very passive aggressive in that way.
Okay.
She's passive aggressive, and so sometimes when something needs to be talked about, it just doesn't happen because
Yes.
I don't want anything to escalate. She doesn't want to think it's my wife witnessed similar things as well. So we just kind of figure it out,
Right.
whatever,
Kind of like,
muddle
okay.
through it.
Right.
But yeah, I went through a period where I was just really angry with him, and I think even today I'm still waiting for him to just apologize because I've actually talked to him about it, and his response would always be, "Well, your mother did things to me,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, but does what she did? Because my mother could be mouthy. My mother, she was one who did not hold her tongue, and I know
Right.
she was, I'm sure, very disrespectful in her words to him. I remember one time she made a joke with him, and I remember he threw her down the stairs.
Wow.
And I remember her getting like, I was only joking, and she ended up like breaking a toe in her foot, and I ran off, and I hid behind a car, and I saw him driving by looking for me, and I circled back, helped my mom, took her to the hospital, emergency room, and stuff. So interestingly enough, so when people say, well, I beat my wife because I saw my father beat my mother, so that's just how it is. That's just a little to me because I saw those same things.
Right.
And so, but I looked at that and said,
it's all about a choice.
I will never put my hands on a woman.
That's right.
I don't care how angry I get. I don't care how mad I get. I don't care what she does. I am never going to put my hands on a woman because as men, we are the stronger, beings. We're physically stronger, and most times women are getting kind of strong. They're in the gym.
No, you're right about that.
I'm watching some of these ladies like, ooh, they can bench press more than me. But anyways, that's another discussion. But still, so I looked at that. I would never put my hands on a woman. I just won't. I just, I don't care how angry my wife has made me. I don't, and so I've been waiting for my father just to kind of say, I'm sorry I've put you through that.
Right.
I've been waiting for that. Right. And I don't think he ever will. And I've got to accept that and realize that he's probably never going to apologize for it. And so that's something that I have to deal with and just kind of move forward from.
Right.
And so not even now, my father and I, we have a okay relationship. It's not as great as I would love it to be. And I've tried to do things, with my father. One of the reasons my mother and my father divorced, and my father is really kind of a homebody. He's one of those that vacation was, well, we drive to Georgia, once or twice a year.
Yeah.
That was vacation. Let's go home to this little small town where there's nothing to do and stay there for a week or 2 weeks, we visited family, which is good, it's
right.
Good,
of course.
And I got a chance to, really get to know my grandparents. So I appreciate him for that. With my mother, she was one of those, she went to jet set. Like she wanted to, okay, if we're going to Georgia, let's visit Savannah. Let's, on the way down, let's stop at Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. But that was never my father. She wanted to go do things and see the world. And he's like, no, I was going to sit on the couch and watch the Yankees. and again, that's what I mean.
Exactly.
They were young, and then as they got older, they developed into who they were, which was two very different people. And I'm sure if they had met when they were in their mid-20s, they probably wouldn't have gotten together because they would have realized, well, I want to do this and that, and you just want to do this, and so we're not really compatible.
Right.
But teenagers when they're young and hormones are racing, and my father was a good-looking guy. My mother was a beautiful looking young lady. And so, unfortunately.
Right. So now,
so that was me.
That was you.
I was the mistake. I was the oops.
You were
and it's interesting. My mother would always tell me, she goes, I would do all kind of things to try to get rid of you. I would punch myself in the stomach. I would like drink like this nasty kind of concoctions to try to, and then, I tell people that story. They'd be like, oh my God, like, you aren't like her. Like, no, I'm not offended by that because I'm not hurt by that. I mean, my mother was 15.
Right.
Right. She was a child, and at that time in the 60s, 1967, was a desperate situation, in terms of what do I do?
Exactly.
I've got this, I'm pregnant, I'm a child. And so, but that just goes to show how, I'm a fighter. You're not taking me out that easily. And, and I think that, I became a blessing, to the family. I'm the oldest. I was the first one in my family, all of my family, to go to college.
Okay.
And so I paved the way for all my cousins from, like, my father's the baby of the family.
Okay.
And even all of the older siblings, none of their kids went to college except for me. I was the first one to go. So I realized, even though it wasn't my mother's plan to have a child, it was God's plan for her to have me.
That's right.
And so, yeah, anyways.
That's awesome.
That's where we are, man.
That's awesome.
I'm here.
That's awesome. See, and I believe with a lot of fathers today, it's a lack of, like how you said, they like to play the blame game.
Mm-hmm.
It's even to this day. I believe fathers suffer from the lack of accountability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Accountability. I mean, there are three things that make a leader. You got accountability, you have integrity, and you have character.
Right.
In order to be a great leader, you need three of them. You can't have two and not the last one, But I believe accountability is the number one reason for fatherlessness in the United States. You get a lot of fathers, oh, well, I can't see my son because I don't pay child support. Then pay child support. Oh, I don't want to pay child support. Well, then you don't want to see your son.
Well, that's because, the thought of child support is, I don't want to give that woman,
exactly.
my dad, my child's mother money. Right. But you have to get beyond that because, the child is living, unless the child's living with you, but the child's living with the mother, she still has to pay the rent. She still has to keep the lights on. She still has to keep food on the table. So I know a lot of fathers are like, okay, well, I'll bring food over, or I'll bring, like, they just don't want it. Because in their minds,
of course,
the money's going to her to get her nails done, get her hair done, get new outfits, and what have you. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen. But if you're going to, produce a child.
That's it, man. That's it. And I agree with you because even when I had my son, I didn't get to see my son until he was 4. So once I finally got to see my son, I had him every weekend until he was 10. But I went through that stage myself. With paying child support, I was paying $150 a week. And I'm like, okay, well, what is this going to?
What's it going to?
That's $600 a month. You know what I mean? So, meanwhile, I'm struggling, because I had a lack of accountability. I was younger, right? So I used to always play the blame game. Well, what is she using the money for? Oh, Judge, I want to, because they came up with a card to where in order for the woman to spend the child support money, they would have to swipe it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So yeah, what happened was that they swipe it this way, you could bring it back to court, and they can see everything that was bought with it. All right.
So they couldn't go to the nail salon. It's like, they could, but then you would see, right?
But then you would see it. But
that's interesting.
And at the time, I had told the judge, I said, what if she's using it to pay a car note or pay rent? Once again, I was immature, and he told me, he says, it doesn't matter, rent, car note, it's to help your son. And I didn't realize that. I was just. So I asked about that card. I said, because I want to know, but he said that he doesn't see my son under the terms of being neglected. So there's no need for that card. As you know, I got 2 beautiful daughters. I got my son Nazir.
Yeah.
He's in the military right now. Matter of fact, he's away doing drills this weekend, and he'll be back next weekend. So hopefully, he'll be with this.
All right. Be safe, Nazir.
Be safe, Nazir. Enjoy. Oh, matter of fact, in August, they go away for 2 weeks. They're going to be up in in Vermont in the mountains.
Oh, wow. It's beautiful up there.
They're going to be sleeping out there 2 weeks. He's the only one excited.
Bug spraying this year.
But yeah, no. So I mean, with his mother, I just had to learn that my main focus is not her and I. My main it doesn't matter what her and I went through.
Right.
I had to take care of my son. That was the most important thing I had to do. And once I understood that, it didn't matter where the money went.
Right.
You know, because every time I got my son, he always had fresh. She liked Banana Republic. She liked all that high stuff, you know. So, you know, and my son, I mean, at the age of 11, is wearing a $40 Banana Republic shirt. You know what I mean? I was like, that's, to me, it's nonsense, but unfortunately, that's what she liked. You know, she was a good mother. She took care of him. I mean, look at him now. Her and I doing what we had to do as far as raising him. You know, he graduated high school with honors. You know, like I said, he's going to college now at UConn. He's in the Army. I mean, he's doing software engineer for the military. And he's doing computer science at UConn.
Oh, that's
yeah, right? So, I mean, it's just unfortunate that when we're younger, that's why the Word of God says we should not have sex until we get married. Because there's logic and there's a reason behind it. Once you get married, you know the person you're marrying because apparently you've been with them.
Right.
Now, when you get married, now you have a chance to have a child. And it's a mutual agreement. Because usually when you're dating, nobody's expecting a baby.
Right.
And that's just what happened with us, you know. And unfortunate. And I love my son. He's 20 years old today. He's a blessing, and so is Neve in heaven. But, you know, but fathers, man, I want to encourage you. It's important to be there for your child. I know, listen, I understand the whole, I can't be around her or she can't be around him. But it's not about that. Get over it. It's about your child. Because who gets hurt? Who gets hurt the most?
The child.
The child. See, you know, the mother, he's a scumbag. He did this. He's been with this girl. That's all hearsay. You know, we just...
But even if it's true...
Right, exactly.
He is still the father of your child.
And he's trying to be there. That's the most important part.
And he needs to be there for your child.
Exactly.
And so you need to put your own personal feelings aside.
Right.
So that this man can be a part of that child's life.
Of course. Absolutely. You know? Absolutely. I mean, there's so many traits that a father gives to children. There's so many traits, you know. The father, it shows a son the foundations of becoming a real man. The father shows the daughter a foundation of how to judge a good man by the way the father is with the mother, you know. So when a son grows up without a father, he has no foundation.
Right.
You know, he grows up without an identity. So therefore, he's unidentified. Doesn't know who he is. Wants to grow up wearing Jordans like I did. You know? And see, I'm serious, you know? So that's what happens. So when you grow up without a father, it's not only a lack of a male model, but it's also a foundation. You know, the foundation shows you a structure of what a man is.
Right.
You know, and that's what I want to do for my daughters. I want my daughters to see it because I want my daughters one day to sit there and say, my father doesn't do that. So I can push him to the side. You know, I remember when I delivered liquor, I met a guy named John. He owned a package store, and his daughter was there. And she came back from college, and I was just talking to her. I was waiting for him to, you know, sign the bill so I could leave. And I asked her, I said, so did you meet anybody nice in college? She goes, no, it's hard for me to meet a good man. And I said, well, what do you mean? She goes, well, if the man I meet isn't anything like my father, then I'm not going to be with him. And I never understood that until today.
Wow.
Right?
Wow, yeah.
So, I mean, that's the whole point of fatherlessness, right?
Right.
I mean, you and I just want to help fathers. We want to help children, but we want to help fathers.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
No, I'm with you. And it's funny as you were talking, I'm like, so who is this podcast for? who are we targeting, right? And it's interesting because I know we're talking about fatherlessness, but I think especially for those single moms who are raising a child by themselves,
right?
They need to hear this.
Of course.
For those dads who aren't in their child's life, they need to hear this.
They need to hear this, right?
So it's interesting. I think it's just for. So who is this podcast for? I think it's for anyone that's in a situation. Even if you are a dad living with your wife, right?
Right.
This is actually for you too, because you can be there but not be present.
And that's how I grew up, right?
You can be there, and I don't mean like physically present, but just because I know of situations where the husband literally just does nothing. Like they just sit in the computer, and the mother is just kind of doing everything, like literally everything. And
right.
So, what kind of example is that you're setting to your children?
Right. And I've learned that even with my wife and my daughters. See, being a father is okay, but you've got to also help. Because our wives are our helpmates, right?
Right.
But what are we to our wives? We're her helpmate.
Absolutely.
So it's not the husband's better than the wife, nor the wife better than the husband. We just kind of make it all work together. And the importance about fathers is like our Heavenly Father. Call him Abba.
It's our Abba Father.
Abba in Hebrew has 9 characteristics. You have source, sustainer, foundation, provider, progenitor, protector, nourisher, author, and root. All 9 of these are positions and functions. They're not titles or names. So you got a lot of fathers out there that say, well, I'm a father. Yeah, but are you functioning like the father? Are you the foundation? The most overlooked part of the house is the foundation.
Absolutely.
But let your foundation be cracked, the government will condemn this house.
Yeah, your house will literally be.
Exactly. So that's so the foundation, right? Fathers always say, I'm the head of the home. No, you're not. You're down there. You're picking up the home.
I'm dealing with that right now.
Yeah?
I'm the head of the house. It's my way or no way. I'm just wondering, Preston, you just rattled off those 9. Woo!
I love it, man.
Read this.
This is passion for me, man. I love it. And
as I said, you're the Batman. I'm Robin. I'm Robin. Batman.
But I just that's how dear fatherlessness is to me, because it's important. Because Time Magazine did a study back in 2012, and it said, Dad is destiny. It said, so go to fathers, so go to families, the community, and the nation. So if those 3 go because of the lack of fathers, can you imagine if we get fathers back onto where they're supposed to be, the foundation of the home? So that means build better marriages, build better communities, build better nations, right? And if we could just do that by allowing these 9 characteristics to just get an understanding of it as well. That's the most important thing. See, I can tell you whatever I want to tell you, but if I show you, then you'll have a better understanding of
it. Absolutely.
Or like how they used to say back in the day, actions speak louder than words.
Yes, they do.
And when I first heard Dr. Miles Monroe talk about fatherlessness,
I love that.
Oh, so do I. I mean, that's my mentor. Everything I know is from him. And he said, fatherlessness is the cancer of today's society.
That's very true.
It is very true.
That's very true.
He also said, if you have a passion for something, whatever that passion is, you're going to hate to the point where you want to fix it. And I think I hate fatherlessness. Not saying I hate the fathers. I just hate the fact that the fatherlessness to where the fathers aren't in the picture. So if I can help, if you and I, with this podcast, can help guide fathers back on track, guide mothers to have an understanding. Sometimes we don't know what to do. We all need help, but as men, we're too stubborn to ask for it.
Ain't that the truth?
Right? But once again, it's never too late. It's never too late. A father can always come back to his child, no matter how old the child is. Child could be 15. Listen, I wasn't there for 15 years, but I got 5 more years to help you become a better man. You know?
Yep, absolutely.
But you can't do that without training. That's why the Word of God is so important.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people say, "Oh, here goes the Bible," right? But no, the truth is, if we can look and study how God was towards Jesus, God was the Father, Jesus was the Son. If we can act the way God was towards Jesus, or at least try, right?
Try, yeah.
At least try.
People say, "I'm not God," right?
I'm not God. Yeah, I'm not Jesus. Yeah, but look at the characteristics of it.
Something to strive for.
Exactly. See, and unfortunately, fathers have a lack of honor in lives. And that's because, as a father, we just want to be respected.
Absolutely.
Not saying I want everything, but at least respect the fact that I'm here. I'm your father. I'm trying to do the best I can. But some women hang out with single friends that get this, that, and the third, and they want the same thing, but unfortunately the husband can't give it, so they make the husband feel like he's worthless. Instead of understanding that that's a single friend.
Right.
And that's why I encourage people.
And probably a single childless friend.
Exactly. And that's what I try to encourage. If you're married, please don't hang around single people. Because they're going to do things that you cannot do. I even say to children, don't do it. And that's usually what happens. We have good children that hang out with bad kids that, and unfortunately, that's the biggest part of fatherlessness. It's because the father's not there to guide the children. No, listen, stay away from that, please. Like my father, when he saw me in the project, he came in front of me, he cried. He said, listen, I'm either going to get caught, you're going to be in jail or dead. So I was like the prodigal child, right?
Yeah.
But in like how in the story, God ran towards him at the very end, so my father came to me. And I like that, and I like telling people like the prodigal stories because it's amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
For the fact that a child that took his inheritance, ran off and just blew it.
A child who literally told their father, "Look,
I'm good.
I can't wait until you die,
right,
to get where you're going to leave me. So just give it to me now.
Just give it to me now." Look, selfish, right?
It's selfish, yeah. Like, I don't know, Dad, you're looking kind of healthy. I don't know if I can wait that long.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, just give it to me now.
Right. Right.
Which is interesting. How did he grow up? Like, how did he grow up to have that kind of feeling of, my dad's got all these rules, or my dad, I have to do this, I have to do that. And again, he's probably looking out at the world and like, they're having so much fun.
Right.
I want to, you know what, Dad? I can't wait till you die. Just give me what you're going to,
Just
give it to me.
Self-entitlement, right?
And I want to go out, do my thing.
Yep. See, that's another thing. Kids want stuff without even knowing why. They just want it because they want it.
Right, and this is biblical times before there was Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, television.
Absolutely.
So it's really interesting that it doesn't matter the time. Today's time just gives you more resources to be able to see those things.
Right.
But, more ways to be able to see those things. But it hasn't changed.
Absolutely.
That desire to just live that life that just seems so much better than the life you have now.
Yeah. What's funny is my father used to always tell, that story how they used to always say, the grass is always greener.
Grass is always greener.
Well, the grass is...
In the Little Mermaid case, the seaweed is always greener.
The seaweed is always greener. So listen, so they say the grass is always greener. My father used to always say, well, your grass would be just as green if you maintained it.
Yeah. That's a good one.
So a lot of people, that's what they do.
Yeah. It's funny, as you were talking, I thought of a story when I was teaching at Jackie Robinson. I was an intern. And I was going to get, I was at UNH, University of New Haven, and I was getting my master's in elementary education. And so I interned for a year at a school in New Haven at Jackie Robinson. And I think one of the reasons why this subject matter really hits home to me is because there is a student there, and he was one of those kind of just troublemaker kind of students, right? He was always kind of getting in trouble, always kind of getting in trouble. And so I'm substituting this class. He does something. Principal comes in, kind of cheese him out, whatever, and principal leaves. And this kid's like, I can't stay here. I hate him. So I'm gonna kill him. And I remember, here's me. I'm 20. I don't know at that time, like 28, 29.
Right.
I don't even think I was 30 yet. And I was saying, whoa, why would you want to kill him? He's got 2 daughters. So you wouldn't want to deprive his 2 daughters of their father?
Right.
You know what he told me? He said, I don't have a father. So why do I care if they don't have? And that has stuck with me. This is back in 97. So his words that just kind of haunted me all this time, because it was an insight to me at how a lot of these kids who don't have fathers, just how they think. Right? They don't. He didn't have the empathy of, oh, if I kill him, his daughters aren't going to have their father in their life. Like, he'll be gone. And he knew, well, I don't have a father. Why do I care if they don't have it? And so this lack of empathy, it's kind of scary, that these kids who are growing up without fathers don't have that empathy.
Right.
Because the interesting thing is that mothers are very loving. Like, the mothers are very loving, very supportive.
Well, nurturers, right.
They're nurturers, right? They're nurturers. But it's interesting, but it's the fathers, though, who kind of, I think, who teach that empathy, who can teach that foundation of understanding what someone else is going through. Understanding and putting yourself in someone else's shoes and not wanting to inflict something upon them that would
that crucial.
That's true. Yeah. So it's
now. Can you imagine if that young boy had his father and hugged his father all the time? I highly doubt he would have ever said that.
Oh, I agree. I also highly doubt that he would have been the troublemaker child that he was.
That's right. That's right. See, this is the importance of a father is the father's love is unconditional, just like the mother's. Mm-hmm. But the mother's a nurturer, and the father is the way maker, the shower of what to do.
Right.
Right. My father used to always tell me, never judge a person by the color of their skin. Judge them by their characteristics, what they do. Also, Dr. Miles Monroe said, if you want to know a good father, just meet his kids.
Mm.
You can tell a lot about a father by the way the kids are. If the kids act a fool, most likely the father isn't there, or he was present, but not present. It's just, that's the importance of this whole father.
Absolutely.
And I just hope that you and I could get fathers, and I want to have children talk. I want to hear what a child has to say about their father.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll start with my daughters, have them tell,
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the importance. Mothers and fathers. Majority of these kids nowadays have no fathers, like you said.
Right.
So they're growing up actually sitting here stating, what am I going to do? Well, I heard a kid say he didn't care whether he died or not. There was no remorse.
Yeah.
Because why? He never got showed love of a father. Mothers always love. That's why a lot of men don't like it when you talk about their mother. Because of that love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, don't talk about my mama.
Yeah.
Right.
Tupac said, right? Dear mama, And that's the important thing of a father, being in the position of the foundation, the structure.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is we were just talking, I just realized, who else is this podcast for? It's for grandfathers.
Yes.
Right? I'm a grandfather.
Right.
And so if your son is not, or even your daughter is not in your grandchildren's life like they need to be, you're seeing that there's a gap, there's a presence that's missing.
Yes.
Then you need to stand in that gap, for your son.
Absolutely.
To show what a real man is like, to show what a Christian, godly man is like.
That's right.
So
that's right.
This is for you too, grandfathers. I'm a grandfather. He's a father. I'm a father too, but I'm also a grandfather. I've got 5 grandchildren. And
wow.
so,
That's awesome.
you know,
That's got to be fun on Christmas time. No,
not from my bank account.
Yeah. But no, but that's, listen,
but it is fun.
This is also to tell men, you could become a spiritual father.
And that too.
You know, you don't have to be a biological father to help a child, a misguided child.
Absolutely.
You know, they got that big brother, big sister.
Big sister.
You know, but it's imperative that we get the fathers just to understand who they are. Mm-hmm. But we got to work with children, right? We got to help children. We got to have them crawl before they walk. Allow them to understand who they are.
Absolutely.
You know, and I know a lot of times these young kids out here don't want to hear about it. And that's why I have to learn how to meet them where they are and talk to them.
And I also think that we have to, especially as Christians, I think in the past Christians have always been, the whole Bible thumping and, beating people over the head with the Bible.
Yes.
And as the Bible is an acronym for, right? It's basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Yes.
And so we have to come at them with, well, you can't do this, can't do this, can't do this, and look at it from, by doing this, it's not, these aren't rules as punishment, but these are rules to help you. These are rules to allow you to live a life of freedom and a life of joy,
yes.
that comes by not living.
Of course.
Like you don't have to worry about, do I need to get an STI test? Am I pregnant? Am I not pregnant?
Right.
Is she pregnant? Is she not pregnant? It's like it's to allow you to live a life of peace and serenity.
Absolutely.
And there's true joy in it. So I think that's how it has to be approached versus you gotta turn your life around, you're gonna burn in hell or whatever it is that's kind of the way that Christians have been presented in the past.
Of course.
And so we need to kind of flip the script on that.
Right. You know what I tell people? I heard a woman say that, if you don't accept Jesus, you're going to rot in hell. I was like, well, you might just rot in hell just for telling that person that.
Yeah.
Because first off, Jesus said what? They will know you're of my disciple by why? Unconditional love.
Right. What
is unconditional love? That means you just love no matter what the scenario is, no matter what the situation. And this is why you and I have to help. We have to help. We can do it biblically. I mean, we could start off but I want it to be. But some of these kids don't know it, and some of these kids got hurt. Their grandmother maybe was a Christian, quote unquote. Okay, in church, yeah, praise and hallelujah. But when you go home, they act like demons.
Right. Cussing at them.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So, with that speaking, we just gotta try to work, do our best to help these young kids. What do you think?
Right. No, I agree. Because I think, especially I know you talked about gangs a little earlier. I've come to realize when I was teaching that kids are looking for something.
Of course they are.
Right. Well, actually, we're all looking for something. We're looking for that sense of belonging, that sense of comfort and peace. And I think that's the one great thing about Christianity is that when you know the love of Jesus, like it's like nothing else. Like if there's a sense of belonging, there's not a sense of I need to keep looking. I'm still searching. I'm looking for that something. Jesus is that something.
That's that void.
That's void. The emptiness that you have in your heart. When you let Him in, all of that goes away. So even for like kids, right? Even it says in Psalm 27, if my father or my mother forsake me, the Lord is going to take care of me.
That's right.
And so that's why kids are joining gangs. They're looking for acceptance. They're looking for, and it's all right. And it's all right there. It's all right there in the Word.
That's right.
How Jesus in.
That's right. And and that's a point. That's a good point that you made about the gangs, because it's true. It's saying that if the fathers get in place, there'll be less boys with guns and girls with babies. And if you can get if you can get the fathers in with the boys with guns, it takes away from the gangs. And that's the thing. The important thing about a father shows stability of, this is who you are. Get up, son. Let's try it again. Okay, you failed twice. Let's go.
Right.
It's the affirmation. Come on, bud. I love you.
Right.
Let's try it again.
which may be different from a mother, right? So a mother's going to come from that nurturing place, like, oh, it's okay, come here, it's all right, you don't have to try again, right? It's all right, I just love you in there. But that father's like, get up,
son.
I know you fell.
My father believes in me.
I know you fell.
Yes.
But get up, let's do it again.
Let's do it again.
Come on, do it again. And if you fail again, that's all right. Get up. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna do it again until we get it. And it's like classic example. My daughter in high school had joined the dance class. Right? Yep. She had joined the dance team. My daughter's been dancing all her life. And she didn't like it. I'm not really vibing with the girls, and the coach really liked her and really tried to, but my daughter's really quiet, very shy, and so she just wasn't clicking, right? And what was my response? Okay, finish it out, and next year, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But you made a commitment to these girls.
That's right,
and you need to finish it through.
Absolutely.
But did she? No, my wife's like, oh, she doesn't want to do it, so we'll just let her stop. And that's but me as a man, like, no, you made a commitment.
That's right.
They're depending on you. They need you, so you have to honor that. Right. Now, until the season is done. Now, if you don't want to go back the following year, then great. You don't have to, but I want you to finish out. That's right. But that's where I talked about like the kind of passive aggressiveness. Yes. I didn't push it. I just let my wife have it. But and looking back on that, I wish that I had been like, no, not saying, well, I'm the man, it's my way or the highway or what I say goes. Right. I don't mean, but I think I could have been more, I don't know, maybe assertive isn't the right word, but I just could have been more forthcoming and more, explaining so that she would at least stuck it out. Because to me, if a child starts something and then you just pull them out, what you're telling them is, well, if I don't like it, I just stop.
Yes, exactly.
Even though these people are depending on me, you created a dance routine or whatever that I'm part of, and that now if I just pull out midstream, now they've got to reconfigure and no. If you make a commitment, stick to that commitment. Right. But that's how my father and my mother actually raised me. Do something, do it.
Of course.
So that's why we're important.
We are absolutely, and it's to show that because my father used to always tell me, if you tell someone you're going to do something, you got to do it. It's almost like your word is all you have.
Right, absolutely.
And I agree with you. My son did the same thing. He played baseball. And this is the downfall is I didn't go to a lot of his games. I should have. Once again, I was young. I didn't know. I mean, I was 25, or at this time I was 25 when he was born. So I was maybe 30, 32. And he would play baseball. And one day he went to catch the ball, and he put the mitt down this way. And the ball went up, smacked him right in the face.
Oh, that happened. That's not fun.
No, it's not fun. So after that happened, he goes, all right, I'm done. But then he went to go play another sport. Something else happened. Then he goes, okay, I'm done. So it's almost like how you were saying, because I wasn't there to tell him. Say, no, hold on. I understand something bad happened, but listen, things are going to happen regardless. You're not going to like everything. I mean, unfortunately, but you just got to weigh it out. You can't just give up quickly. Right. And I've always lived like that. That's why I hate telling people I'm going to do something, because I've got to do it now because I already gave you my word.
Your word is your bond.
My word is my bond, and that's important to teach children. It doesn't matter what you're doing, but when you're doing it, it matters what you're doing. But what you have to do is once you can make a commitment to do it, now you got to be accountable to that, what you're doing. Right. Accountability, I believe, is one of our biggest problems as well.
Nope, I agree. And maybe that's what we should do. So, like with these next upcoming sessions, we'll go through those 9 principles. Start, maybe next time we'll start with just focusing on accountability, just talking about that, what that looks like.
Right.
Right. And the importance of it, and when there is lack of it, what are the effects of that?
Right. Well, we got a lot of pros and cons we can go over as well. And of the lack of accountability. And you're right. Accountability, characteristics, and integrity. 3 things what a leader needs. Absolutely. Yeah. So, Brother Hill, thank you, brother.
Brother David,
Until next time.
Until next time, we've got a lot to talk about.
Got a lot to talk about.
Got a lot of fathers that we need to,
absolutely
get this word out to.
Absolutely, we do.
And like and subscribe.
Thank you, Nevaeh.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Till next time. We'll talk to you later. Have a great day.
Subscribe.
God bless you guys.
God bless. God bless.